This is a simulation for the immortal. Therefore a mortal cannot escape it. According to Hermeticism, you are here to master the gift of speech and mind, which makes you worthy of being equal to the immortals. But if you desperately cling to the mortal identity of the human self, then you have shown that you are not ready to leave this simulation. As this simulation is designed for the cultivation of the immortal, who has mastered discernment by shedding all the illusions and lies of this world, who has mastered the art of divine creative imagination, as divine conjures realms into being via imagination alone. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, it can only change from one form to another. Therefore, there is no death to the energy of your soul, the consciousness that you are. But here on this plane of existence in this simulation, we have been convinced by the cabal of the fallen ones that we are tiny speck of stardust being hurled around in the universe of infinity. That is, we have no significance. What a masterful way to bring down an immortal to the level of the fallen ones. These fallen ones are not fallen because God has condemned them. They have fallen willingly by choosing this world as their home. They do not care for transcendence. Therefore, they are of this world. But as Christ said, I am not of this world. The fallen ones have chosen to serve the self, and their ideology is do what thou wilt. Self-deification. Carnality is their deity. Therefore, they have been separated from the divine by the very choices that they have made. Consequently, they will not be leaving this game either. Just like Cypher made a deal with Agent Smith in the movie Matrix.
Do we have a deal, Mr. Regan?
You know, I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
I cannot show the full clip due to copyright reasons. But I have uploaded the full clip separately so that you can check out later, link is in the description. Cypher basically makes a deal with Agent Smith to give up transcendence and have the carnality, fame, and luxury of the Matrix in return. This is exactly what it means to sell your soul to the devil. Many people in Hollywood do it, and all of a sudden, they start portraying the demonic in their work. And then the mainstream media starts pushing them everywhere, and they become world famous. This is the very reason they need to dumb down the masses to stay here. They do not want the masses to realize the truth about this simulation. Because they need the unconscious soul of the masses that are still spiritually connected to the source to manifest what they want in the collective reality. The unconscious immortal stuck in the 9-to-5 hamster wheel is still an immortal, nonetheless. Therefore, he or she is still connected to the source. As our default nature is that of love and compassion that sparks divine creative imagination. But the fallen ones do not possess love and compassion. Therefore, they need you to use these divine attributes to do their bidding. Elect them as the president of a country. Give them all your money in their bank. Income tax is one of the best examples of the cabal robbing you of your energy. Money is nothing but energy exchange. The banking system comes from ancient Babylonian money magic system, printing money out of thin air to devalue all that you have. Magic is nothing but psychological manipulation. If there was a real deity like Satan who was magical and powerful, and cabal was under its allegiance, then we would be under literal chains. There is great freedom here in this world, as the real God who is within you protects everyone. We are magical immortal beings who are under amnesia. The cabal cannot override our freedom of choice and enslave us. This is why they need psychological tactics to use your spiritual power of imagination to build their empires and give your consent for them to rule you with an iron fist. You see, if all the soldiers on the battlefield right now realize who they are and quit, who is going to do the fighting then? If each soldier realizes that they are being used as cannon fodder and their handlers couldn't care less about their lives, nationality, religion, or any ideology, what will happen? The soldier is what gives immense power to the fallen ones. And masses unknowingly are pawns to a game of the fallen ones, while forgetting the real game that they came here to play. Which is stated by Neville Goddard so perfectly, God became man, so that man may become God. This phrase right here is sufficient to tell you how to escape the simulation. You must strive to shed the identity of the mortal human and become more and more aware of the divine love that you are. And by virtue of that awareness, you will stop participating in the games of the cabal. And perhaps after this life cycle you will not be coming back here. Now don't mistake this as fear propaganda of soul trap. There is no such thing as a soul trap. The immortal can only be trapped if he thinks he is trapped. The fallen ones want you to stay trapped here. This is why they have introduced so many different theologies and religions, and things like soul trap and karma. You are stuck here because you refuse to grow up into your real self. This world is designed to cultivate immortals who have mastered the gift of speech and mind. That is all. There is no trap to keep you here by the divine. The trap is set up by the fallen ones. Because misery loves company. They want to keep their little empire of oppression to keep going. As an oppressor needs victims to keep on oppressing. And of course, your participation in their game unknowingly and not actively searching for the truth is what keeps you here. If you haven't watched my latest video showcasing Neville Goddard on how to escape the simulation, you should watch it next. I'll put the link in the description. Neville clearly understood, albeit in an older frame of references of theater and drama, that we live in a magnificent play. And in this play, your goal is to be born from above. In his terminology, awaken the Christ in your skull. Neville was all about the promise in later parts of his life. The promise, as he explained, is a promise from the Father, God. That is, God became man so that man may become God, is promised. The Father, God, has not abandoned you in this world. You will invariably be born from above. As you live as many lives here as you require to master the gift of speech and mind. So, there is no such thing as a soul trap. There is only the law of cause and effect. There is no karma or punishment to be here, as you are a sinner, or you need to be purified. God doesn't need to be purified. And an all-loving God will not condemn a soul to be trapped in hell to repay its karmic debt. You are the prodigal son in the biblical story. You have gone out in this world, and you have fumbled and made mistakes many times, but the moment you return to the Father, you are greeted with open arms. This guilt-tripping is the method of the cabal to make you into a sinner, so that you are never born from above. Sinner, karmic debt, soul trap, is all about keeping you here indefinitely. Because the fallen ones have chosen this place to be their home as they enjoy all the power in this world and have all the carnal desires readily available to them. Again, they have chosen this over transcendence. It's a choice. No God has condemned them or you to be here and suffer. It is a choice. Ignorance is a choice. These fallen ones are not just humans, they are something called the Watchers in the Book of Enoch. It all dovetails into the Anunnaki creation story I have made a video about. In short, the fallen ones are united by the ideology of self-deification. It contains all sorts of people and entities. Now I won't claim I have all the data about every player in this game. You don't have to know all the players, you just need to know the game. They are concerned only with the lower nature of man and ruling over it.
Did you know that the Knights Templar secretly worship Baphomet? Who's Baphomet, Chuck? This is Baphomet. There is all kinds of symbolism in this figure. First of all, it's a goat. That's an ancient, the goat is an ancient Egyptian god, Mendes, who actually is a representation of what? A black snake. And speaking of snakes, look at the snakes on its belly, the Baphomet's belly. Look at the scales on the belly and around the snakes. Look at the scales below the wing or along the wing edges. Okay, this is signifying the black snake. And then we notice that the snakes are crossing 3 times, once at their tail, once in the middle, and then once at the head. And the heads are what? They're looking at that circle at the top, which is the earth. Interestingly, look at this here. Here you see the Pope. Isn't it interesting? He has those same snakes. And they cross 3 times, and the snakes represent obviously Leviathan. And they are watching over that circle, which is the earth. And then look what's at the top of the scepter of the Pope, which is a cross. What does that say? The church rules the world. The church sits over the world as Lucifer watches it. That's what that scepter is saying to you. This represents the crossing of the 3 snakes, represents the lower 3 chakra. These are lower 3 chakra people. In other words, they have no heart. They have no compassion. They have no empathy. They are not concerned with the upper levels of the chakra, the spiritual experience. They are concerned with the mortal experience. That's why blood, the carrier of life, the giver of life, is their obsession. They are obsessed with the earth. They are obsessed with earth calendars, earth characteristics, the cosmos.
The virus scam that happened in 2019 woke me up to the collective reality, and I started researching it. As it was too large scale to be just my imaginal act alone. It was a scam initiated by the powers that be, and the fear of the masses and their consent in ignorance made it into a reality. Now the collective is brewing more wars filled with hatred, not knowing that they are being manipulated for ritualistic purposes. Research the god of sacrifice, Baal, to understand it all. None of it has anything to do with what you are being told. This agenda is simply anti-human. But humans are not waking up to see it. Everybody as you pushed out applies in relation to your personal intimate life. Not in relation to the whole of collective. That is, we are all co-creators of the collective reality. So, all the fallen ones need to do is manipulate the general perception of the masses to lead them to a certain outcome. And then use their imaginal power to make the plan of the cabal to become a reality. This story of Neville's dentist clearly showcases this point as him being the victim of his dentist's imagination.
In this audience tonight, and he may not even remember when he did it, is my dentist. And I went to him in great need of a lot of work, for I had had dentistry all over this country, and in London, and in Barbados, and all was horrible. I was always on the move. I was in the theater, getting tongue for a week. What could they do when I needed such work? They patched me up. So when I met him, he gave me a complete job because I was here, living here then. When one day a tooth gave way, which was an anchor tooth, he said to me quite innocently, whether he remembers or not, when I saw your mouth and did this, I said to myself, this tooth will last 13 years. It was 13 years. Had he only said 25, but he didn't think I would live that long. So 13 years, out came that anchor tooth, and therefore complete restructure of my entire mouth. He set it in motion. Whether he remembers or not, he said, this is going to last 13 years. He didn't tell me. Didn't have to tell me. That was his imaginal act. I was only the victim of his creative power. Now I'm telling you, don't take anything lightly. You are creating morning, noon, and night. Your imaginal acts are God's acts, because your imagination is God.
As Neville held the assumption, not consciously but subconsciously, that the dentist was the authority on the health of his teeth. He gave away his power to the dentist, and in time, what the dentist believed hardened into fact. In wars there are countless victims who fall prey to the imagination of others, that is the fallen ones. Because consent is given in ignorance by the masses to the cabal to commit these heinous acts. You can remove yourself from any situation by applying the law of assumption, just like Neville Goddard did when he got honorably discharged from a world war. If you don't know this story, then here is the abbreviated version. Neville was enlisted in World War II to fight from American side. Knowing higher spiritual laws, Neville saw no ability in fighting a false war. So, he wanted to have no part in it and wanted to get honorably discharged. Well, it was a world war and they needed every man they could get, so his application to get discharged got rejected. Consequently, Neville turned to the law of assumption and slept in his own home, in his bed in New York, in imagination. While physically sleeping in the barracks about to go to war. The officer who rejected his application to get honorably discharged suddenly had a change of heart. And Neville Goddard escaped a world war honorably. He didn't imagine the end of the world war, did he? As he understood the difference between collective reality versus individual reality. Millions of people were cooking unfathomable amount of hatred towards each other in that war. So, it is pointless for one person to imagine for millions of people peace when these people are incapable of comprehending such an idea. He got out, while countless people in their ignorance and under the spell of the cabal suffered. The only way for the collective to be free is to rise in consciousness and realize who they are and what they are doing here. The reason it is a simulation is because this body of yours is just an avatar. It is not who you really are. It is just a garment of flesh the immortal has worn to play this game of mortality and experience what it is like to be a man. Not to mention that this reality is programmable via the mind. The placebo effect is a widely documented phenomenon that showcases mind over matter. I have explained it in detail in this video, you can check it out after this video. I will put the link in the description. The words of Jesus, the god of this world is Satan, dovetails into Gnosticism. The origin of cabal can be traced back all the way to ancient Canaanites, where they worship Baal, the god of sacrifice. And this chart by Dylan Lewis Monroe, an intuitive artist and truth activist of DeepStateMappingProject.com, shows how the cult of Baal transferred from one civilization to another, all the way to today's United States of America. By the way, cause R is very relevant to what is going on in United States of America, Europe with its immigration mess, the two active wars being fought right now. Baal is nothing but a symbol for Lucifer or Satan. Now it is difficult to speculate if there is a physical being called Satan, who is in opposition to the creator of all. Perhaps the devil is a thought form that responds to the dark nature of man, and thought forms have a being of their own. Satan or Lucifer has also been portrayed as other dimensional being, not of this world in flesh. Nonetheless, there is no such thing as opposition to the creator of all. But as the creator of all allows everything under the law of freedom of choice, satanic ideology is allowed. And that is what is prevalent in the power corridors today, traced all the way back to Babylon and perhaps even older. Moloch, Baal, Yaldabaoth of the Gnosticism, Satan, Lucifer, God of the Old Testament, could be the same thought form. Or they are the same other dimensional beings with different names, or a collection of entities with the same agenda. As the devil's nature is to deceive, so many names provide the perfect labyrinth for the seeker to get lost in. But Satanism is certainly an ideology that the fallen ones have chosen, as it is carnal and manipulative. It is about perversion and opposite of transcendence and love. By the way, some of you say that why I still quote the Bible, even though I have expressed doubts about its authenticity. Because the teachings of the Bible, especially attributed to Christ, can be traced back to much older texts. Some of it comes directly from Gnosticism and Hermeticism. Therefore, the Bible is coated with spiritual wisdom, but requires a trained mind to discern what is real, versus what was inserted in by the Roman Catholic Church to maintain its political power. If this makes you fearful, then you are missing the whole point. The point of this video is to lift the veil from your eyes and see how powerful and magnificent you are. And this world is just prepping you for your true inheritance. And while in this world, you can have an amazing life filled with all that you want by applying the law of assumption. If you are new to the channel and unfamiliar with the law of assumption, please watch this video next as it explains it in the simplest way. Link is in the description. Funny enough, applying the law of assumption puts you on the fast track to transcend this place, as the law forces you to master the gift of speech and mind. And if you apply the law, you discover that you are more than just a tiny human, there is something magical about your mind. And this is when you discover your true self, the immortal. But far too many people are still under the trap, and the state of the collective has convinced me to try to shake them awake. It is the individual's choice in the end to pay attention or not. But nonetheless, there is a mass awakening going on. Many people are shocked at how crooked the political system is. And it is my attempt to capture the attention of these semi-awoken, still in a groggy state people, and give them the business. Still, there is nothing to fear. The immortal is nourished and protected by Source. In your personal life, you can be, do, and have anything. The law works impeccably. It is only the state of the collective that is being directed by the fallen ones. And the collective is giving their consent by being asleep. I am not trying to save this world or anybody, as no one can save the immortal but themselves. This is just an assist to lift the veil off of those who are already peeking through it and seeing a ridiculous stage play. You are far more than what you have been led to believe. And I am here to show it to you. But you must have the willingness to see it.